I actually was considered to join an offer. Like I was applying for an offer and I was not considered. Like the recruiter reached out to me, I think about 2 days ago.
Okay.
And he told me like the offer that was actually interviewing with was not the best. Not the best, like you were not considered. I do have another offer. It's a low ticket offer. It's basically I think it's a service. So the people who actually already bought the software or the system, I'm gonna be calling them. I'll tell them like, okay, you already have this. You're gonna have this. It's a kind of established company, but it's very low, so it's about $100, and the commission is gonna be I don't know 10 or like $20. So I was kind of curious. What's your thought about it? Have you actually do you consider it a good offer to be in, or what's your thought?
Well, if you're only making like 10 to 20 bucks per sale, I'm assuming they're giving you a higher base, right?
It's not actually a base. It's basically, as they said, like their appointment sitters is basically they are selling like 20 a day, something like that.
20 a day. If they're averaging 20 a day, and let's say it's $15 is the average sale, right?
Mm.
Um, 300 times that by five, times that by, okay. So assuming that you sell 20 of those a day, then you're making like $300 a day, which is pretty good, right? Um, if you times that by like, let's say a working week, which is 20, you're making like 6K. So yeah, I mean, that's not bad at all, but I would really want to verify, uh,
Mm.
how effective and how much that's actually happening. So it's like, hey, so what is your top setter making based on that structure? And then what is your bottom setter making? And also, how can you make sure that lead flow remains that high where we're all able to benefit from something like that? Because the moment lead flow crashes, you are really affected. So it can be a really up and down role. So have we like looked more into that?
Actually, when it comes to the company itself, like as I was talking to the recruiter, he said like it's been there for 20 years, so it's a kind of established company. But this way of actually selling over the phone, it's kind of new. So
Right,
they are not been doing it for a really long time. And think that one thing that he was telling me, like he told me, if you're doing it for 1, 2, 3 months, it's not a good thing. But it's kind of recurring revenue because let's say like I sold them for this service and they stayed for 2, 3 months, I'm gonna keep getting like their subscription, like the
right.
10, $20 until they leave. So he was telling me like it's gonna be good for the long run, but I'm kind of still like considering it. So
Right, right. Because I'm just thinking, you mentioned the setters are doing like what, 20 a day. How many setters are on the team now?
as he said, like only two.
There's only two. So the setters are doing about 10 sales a day.
Not 10 cells, I think. As he said, like ranging from 13 to 40, like both of them. So it's basically like, as he said, 14, like something like that.
Because if they're like assuming that they're doing that, that means that the pickup rate, I'm assuming, is really high for the dials that you make. I'm wondering how much activity they do to get the amount of pickups they do to then get 13 or 14 people sold. That's like 13 or 14 meaningful conversations. And to get that level in this industry is extremely hard. You need to probably do about, I imagine like 300 to 400 dials to make that happen. So I'm not sure because if they've already bought, maybe the engagement's high. They found a really good way to improve pickup rates. But I'd want to backtrack through all of those stats at the moment, just go through their dashboard with them, see what they're currently experiencing. Because yeah, if it's a long-term offer, I definitely would want to consider it. I also want to make sure my short term's covered. What's the minimum that I have to make as far as sales, like reverse engineer the numbers in your head to make sure your expenses are good for a couple of months. And then when you really start building up and things get a bit more fun and you have more of a gap as far as like your expenses and earnings, then for sure it sounds like a worthwhile investment. But I would just need to verify the numbers heavily on the dashboard because you're not even making any commission. It's purely comms only, 10 to 20 bucks a sale recurring, which you want to make sure that that's really good. Even understanding what's the LTV like, lifetime value of a customer that does pay? Do they typically stay for longer than 6 months, 12 months? Do they usually quit within 30 days? Right? Because that's no good to you
Yeah.
either, right? There's a lot of things there. So have we gotten clarity on all of that, or is that something that we still need to do?
Yeah, I actually haven't, but I do have one last question so I wanted to talk about. And let's say like the offer was kind of new. Do you think should I get into or like should I just try to find another one? Because if the
Um,
number was not actually clear and these things.
Well, if they haven't tracked the numbers, they haven't done a good job of it, that's already a red flag. So for me, I would want to stay clear of it. But if they've, got a clear outline process, you're seeing the internal parts, even speaking with the setters, I'd find a way to speak to one of them to see what they're seeing and see how like realistic it is from the recruiter's perspective. Um, yeah, so I want to determine that. If all of those are showing red flags, I'd find something else. But even so, even when you're inside offers, make sure that you are networking. You're always interviewing and finding other offers as well, right? It's going to be really important. So yeah, I would put your focus there. I recently, so I don't know if you guys know James Lawrence. You guys might have seen him online potentially. But I do have his course on how to find A+ offers. Really, really good course. I've been through a little bit of it, and I've given access to
Really?
other people with it as well. And he's recently introduced an AI module. I've gone through a little bit of it. It does look pretty good as well. I'd recommend if you wanted to like find some really solid opportunities, take a look at that course. I think it's about $240. It's definitely worth the money and will just help you separate yourself as well. So it's something that I definitely recommend for sure. Because that's the thing, a lot of offers that we see in the space, we see them publicly, but we don't realize that all of the good ones, mainly the ones in the background as well, that we don't know about. So there is literally tons of offers out there. So that's something else I'd say to consider. Always keep looking.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot,
Cool.
Taylor.
All right, no worries.